Welcome to Down Earth Astrology and Primal Girl Wellness. This is Ms. Jenny, and I am your astrologer. So this is the horoscope for the month of October 2023, and I apologize it's a little bit late, but better late to the party than never showing up at all. And I wanted to share with you a little story a friend told me. So driving down the road, the passenger starts calling out, "Oh my God, watch out for the dog!" And the driver starts panicking, going, "Dog, dog, what dog? Where?" And the passenger goes, "The dog on the bus!" As the Greyhound bus is rolling by. Okay, so these and other practical jokes you should probably never play on nervous new drivers. And just as an aside, did you know that practical jokes are a Virgo specialty? Yes, indeed they are. And boy, have we got a month of practical jokes for you. But nothing to be alarmed about, so it's okay. Take a deep breath. We'll saw through this, honey. We're going to get through it. So here's what we have on tap. So now we know that the last week of September set into motion the business and the foreshadowing of things to come with the 21 Libra eclipse occurring on October 14th. Now, this entire 2 weeks-ish before the eclipse actually is official and exact is quite a serious and full of portent week or so. And the reason I say that is because one of the things you're going to notice is Pluto is stationing direct before this eclipse right here. So Pluto stations direct on the 10th, the eclipse occurs on the 14th. So practically on top of each other. And remember, with outer planets, we feel it well in advance of the exact station. So these last 10 days, or first 10 days of the month, are the last minutes of Pluto making its station while we're simultaneously under the influence of an eclipse. So things moving and being shuffled around by the cosmos right now, one, are going to be full of instability. So don't sign anything important if you can avoid it, because before the ink even dries, situations and circumstances may change unexpectedly. So what you see might not be what you actually get as far as the cosmos is concerned. So cool your heels before you get into legal stuff if you can delay it. The other thing to look for is during this time leading up to the eclipse, we can look for some major decisions being handed down, right? So actions being taken, decisions being made. People are not horsing around this time. They're literally bringing the hammer down, baby. We're bringing the hammer down. So in the big picture and the little picture, we should see a lot of this bringing it to the table, right? This is it. Bring it to the table. You got it. Let's go. Kind of force showing up in situations around us, especially in situations where a change of what is the word that I'm looking for? Not a change of venue, change of guard. When a change of guard is necessary, change of leadership, or gatekeeping. So people who are in positions or situations that require new blood, new thinking, like taking the bull by the horn sort of stuff, like to get in there and make this right. This week leading up to the eclipse is going to bring it home. So we'll see signs and forewarnings and foreshadowings of these things. So keep an eye on that in your personal life and see what you're looking at that may find some people or positions being removed to create or streamline other more effective work by people or new positions. Should be interesting. Won't be easy, but it will be interesting. Now, the upside, of course, is if you've been doing your due diligence and you've done everything you're supposed to be doing, you don't really have a lot to worry about, because a lot of what's happening here has to do with big picture stuff, right? And people making decisions about what direction the ship needs to travel in to get where you're trying to go, or do we need to change directions altogether? It's exciting because it's a week full of portent. So if you like looking for the signs in the stars and looking for omens and all that sort of stuff, I'm telling you, man, between now and the 14th, this is the week. This is the week. Keep your eyes peeled and your ears open. You get all sorts of clues as to how things are going to start manifesting and going down between now and February. So big changes afoot. Woohoo! Okay. Now, the eclipse will occur on the 14th at 21 Libra. It's actually a really positive eclipse. This particular eclipse, it's too wide. It is too wide to be close to Mars, because Mars will have changed signs at that time. It will, however, be quincunxing Uranus. And that's, that's a bit of an inconvenient catch-22 situation. Inconjuncts are always kind of a headache, right? Because literally, an inconjunct is the proverbial catch-22. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. So we may find that this eclipse puts people in really awkward situations where the choices are not great. Like literally, damned if you do, damned if you don't, but you got to do one or the other. You can't stand here forever. So that will be interesting to watch. Now, some of the things we might do to get a clue or some more information about this particular eclipse and all this damned if you do, damned if you don't catch 22 situations people might find themselves in is we could look, because luckily they're Taurus and Libra are both ruled by Venus. So we could look at Venus to possibly give us some suggestion as to what we're dealing with here, right? Well, if you look, folks, by the time we get to the eclipse on the 14th, Venus will have entered Virgo, right? And Mercury will be in Libra, and these two will be making a mutual reception to each other. So it is very possible that there will be some, like in a team sport where they take somebody out of the game and put somebody else in to replace them. So there may be some substitutions going on to try and save the game or the team, as it were. So we may see some players being shuffled around and or some substitutions, some changes of guard, as it were, last dish efforts to save things happening at this time. So keep an eye on that. The end result should be positive. However, the problem, of course, is that this particular inconjunct, this quincunx, just, like it's like bamboo shoots under the fingernails, kind of inconvenient. Lots of inconvenient. And again, it's 6 of one, half done of the other. Which choice is the best choice doesn't really matter. You just got to make a choice because you can't stand here forever. So there's that. Now, while this eclipse is going on, what will have also be happening, which is making this whole week leading up to the eclipse really powerful and very active. Look for very dynamic days leading up to the eclipse. And again, with that said, try not to sign anything, because before the ink dries, on agreements or contracts, fate may have stepped in and completely turned the tables around, leaving you with not what you originally bargained for. So if you can hold off on making legal commitments, or big, heavy, serious commitments, try to do that until after we get past the eclipse. There's much more afoot right now. So while this eclipse is occurring, we have Mercury entering into Libra and Venus entering into Virgo, and we know that these two together will be in mutual reception with each other. So they will effectively be changing places so they can help each other out. I don't really have a good example to make that picture for you in your mind, but if you could imagine just literally right place, right time, and somebody with a different skill set or, personality or temperament than you, being in a place where they can use that to their advantage to also help you, and vice versa. So again, this goes back to teamwork, and substitutions and, catch-22s, damned if you do, damned if you don't, kind of thing. Now, while this is happening, Mars, under this eclipse, Mars will also have just entered Scorpio. So these two are mutual reception, which is good because Venus rules Libra, right? And Mercury rules Virgo. So typically, if we switched these two with each other, they'd be in their own signs, their own rulership. So it makes the mutual reception a very strong switchy-poo kind of aspect to have. It's nice, especially when we're talking about a mutual reception with planets and their rulers, or signs and their rulers. Mars at this time will also be entering Scorpio. Mars is the co-ruler of Scorpio, very powerful position. So it means that whatever solutions, problems, compromises, changes that occur with this Mercury Venus, switching houses kind of thing and helping each other out incognito, Mars in Scorpio will absolutely give it the power and the political maneuvering and the weight, the sheer weight and force to get that done and to make it happen. So these are, I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of gravitas this first 10 days. Lots of gravitas. It may not be, there's a lot of instability, but it may not be as noisy and dramatic as we have seen with other aspects at other times, but it will be heavy and powerful. This is not the week to take for granted. So pay attention, big stuff afoot. Okay, and to put icing on the cake, Saturn will have hit that reset degree at 0 degrees Pisces. So, my dears, let's use this color. Pluto will have station direct. Saturn will have hit the reset point. The eclipse will be quincunxing Uranus, and both of those are disposited by Venus, right? Which will be in mutual reception with Mercury, both in their respective signs of rulership, right? Making this very, people who are making moves and things that are happening, decisions are being made, strategies being put in place, all this sort of stuff happening these first 10 days, or well, the first 14 days right up to the days of that eclipse. Big, powerful stuff. Do not take this for granted. There's big stuff afoot. And it's not just in your personal life. I mean, certainly we'll see that, right? But also in big picture sort of stuff. So the universe and the cosmos, you know, fate, the fickle finger of fate definitely has a lot of play as this is playing out as we go into the eclipse on the 14th. Now, I just wanted to point out also, while Pluto is making its station on the 10th, there will be a quarter moon at 13 Cancer on the 6th. So this particular quarter moon is not necessarily doing anything exciting. It's not really close enough to anything. It does make a nice aspect to Jupiter, which is good. But other than that, nothing too alarming, which is great. We don't need more alarms going off. But what this quarter moon will do is it may, because Pluto stations right behind it, I would keep an eye on the 6th, day before, day after, 24-hour window on either side to see what, what comes to a breaking point around this time. So decisions, decisive actions, turning corners, as it were, are more likely to happen this last week of September, but also I would look for this quarter moon to unlock some things. So if you haven't seen anything yet, see what happens when we get down to the 6th, okay? Because by the time you get to this eclipse at 21 Libra, it'll all be in motion. There won't be any surprises here. So whatever we're looking for, we may see evidence of what this thing is that we're going to be dealing with on the 6th, if we haven't seen it already in the last week of September. And remember, this eclipse is going to carry us all the way out into February. All right, so as Venus, just for the first couple of weeks here, from the 1st to the 14th, as Venus moves from Leo to Virgo, there will be more of a focus on excellence and quality, right? So character, ethics, integrity, quality, the real existential value of something above and beyond the numbers we assign to it as a price tag. These are the things that come into more sharp focus at this time and will be much better supported. So we're coming out of, because as of the 1st, Venus is coming out of that square to Uranus. So we're coming out of a time, and everybody's feeling a little edgy anyway, but also we had a lot of short attention span theater going on. So people weren't, in big picture, little picture, people weren't necessarily in a position to, have any interest in anything. It required any kind of effort to read, understand, figure out. Like nobody had the energy or the attention span for it. But as Venus slides into Virgo, these first 2 weeks of the month, you'll feel and see and hear a shift in the way people are approaching things, and more importantly, what they're looking for. So instead of style over substance, now we're making the switch and we're going to flip the script, and it's going to be substance over style. So for those of you who put in the hours and get the work done, and are often the unsung heroes of the group, because you always make sure stuff is taken care of before it becomes a problem. this will be your time to shine. And all of the big noisemakers, the big showy performative noisemakers that get a lot of credit for a whole lot of nothing, like they may find themselves landing flat-footed around this time as soon as Venus switches into Virgo, which would be the last week of September, by the way. No, I'm sorry. Not the last week of September. It'll be the first week of October. Anyway, sorry. Now, Mercury during this time will also have slid from Virgo into Libra. So what will happen is that people will become much more conscious of the better way to use their words to get cooperation and agreement, and also partnering with people, and more of a desire to consider all options, as opposed to surgically cutting out everything and just, making a straight line to a solution. So what we're looking at is up until like the end of the first week, like the end of the first week of October, what we may find is that people are more, or seem to be more easily led and motivated by appearances, right? It's got to look good. Lots of sharp tongues, trying to get the details just right, but all of it performative, about performance and show, not really, understanding you can't, what is it they say, you can put lipstick and pearls on a pig, but it doesn't change the fact that it's still a pig, like that kind of a thing, right? As we get past the first week of the month and Mercury and Venus both shift from Virgo to Libra, right, from Leo to Virgo and then Virgo to Libra, what we're going to find during this time is that there's still a bit of the, what is the word I'm looking for? Slightly easily irritated factor, especially in matters of personal choice or taste or how we would use our words. Well, I would have said this sort of thing. But it'll be much easier to get cooperation of people and to get stuff done. The key here with this particular combination, and also because, again, we're under an eclipse and Pluto has just stationed direct on the 10th and Saturn's on the eclipse point, blah, 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 is to keep it flexible, keep it open. You can make agreements and discuss these things, but don't put anything in writing, and allow for the possibility that you may have to change plans more immediately than you realize, right? So be very flexible in your agreements and your requirements for other people at this time, okay? Now, also too, Mars will have changed signs from Libra into Scorpio, and again, this brings more force, more power, more weight to actions, right? So this is not the delicate, fleet-footed dancer of Libra, casually and gracefully skating around subjects and issues. This is Mars and Scorpio. This is the this is the general who's in it for the long haul. Like he's invested, he's committed, and we're gonna win this, right? Life or death kind of like intensity. So with Mars sliding into Virgo or Scorpio like this, and this Mercury Venus thing going on, and under that eclipse, hoi hoi hoi, this is not the time to play. This is not the time to play. So don't even have conversations with the people unless you're serious and ready to make a commitment to doing whatever you're discussing. Do not toy with people. This is not the time. I'm telling you, man, this is not the time for the jokers to be out of play. Consequences will be heavy, they will be swift, and they will be a lot bigger and harder to escape than you think or you thought. But, what is it? I had a friend used to say, hard heads make for soft asses. So listen, if you got to learn the hard way, you just go right on ahead. But don't say you weren't warned. Okay. Now, so with all of that said, Saturn at the reset point of 0 degrees Pisces, Pluto stationing direct. Wow, holy cow, that's a big one. Now, we know Pluto is the cleanup crew, and Pluto retrograde in those last degrees of Capricorn. It's the cleanup crew come back to finish the job, and it has gone direct this month at the very beginning. While that's happening, Saturn is at the reset point of 0 Pisces, so we know, and we can certainly expect around the 10th or that quarter moon of the 6th, right, or even the 14th, but I would look for the 6th and the 10th. We can look for the heavy to come down. So it will be interesting to see what soap opera level things bust wide open, both in our personal lives, and in the big, larger scale of the world. There is no hiding secrets now. So let's hope you don't have anything you don't want getting out and that you've been up to no good. Okay, And I think that's it. So first couple of weeks a month, very active, lots of stuff going on. After that first 7 days, we start heading into real serious territory, and we're getting previews of what to expect as we move on towards February next spring of 2024. Once we get past that 6th or 7th of the month, this quarter moon, be careful and don't play games with people, because this is not the time. It'd be very, very easy to find yourself eclipsed right out of a situation. So you were warned. All right, so this is the chart in the inner circle. Let me grab a thing here. So this inner circle, this is the chart for the second eclipse happening this month on the 28th, and that will be the 5 Taurus eclipse. Okay, and we're going to talk about that in a second. Of course, the outside chart is the previous eclipse at 21 Libra. So we're going to look at all the days between. Since this ends at the end of the month, that's the chart we're using. All right. So now as we move past that eclipse on the 14th, the middle of the month, and we're heading towards the second half of the month, we've got some stuff going on that's actually pretty good. Pretty good, I must say. So the first thing is, I just want to point out, one, we've got this this walking stellium with Sun, Mercury, and Mars in Scorpio. So people are absolutely not horsing around, man. This is some serious stuff. So all of this is a continuation of the first 2 weeks, but now things are starting to walk or get rolled out into motion. One of the nice things that Saturn will have just finished making a trine, or the Sun will have just finished making a trine to Saturn. And this will, we're hoping, right? This will certainly bring talks and negotiations, anything where we're speaking truth to power. This will hopefully and should bring everything back to ground zero, like the reset button. Because Scorpio, all the Scorpio energy, man, they don't play. They're not playful people. So when you got all this heavy Scorpio energy, it's literally about getting things done. And if there's any games that are going to be played, you're not going to like how this goes, because they play for keeps, right? So there's that. Now, also too, as we move on from one eclipse to the other, Venus will continue being in Virgo, but here's the beautiful thing that's happening at this time. This Venus will be setting up a grand trine. It's walking into a grand trine with Pluto and Uranus. So in terms of big picture stuff, right, the fate, destiny, the bigger picture, evolution, the meta experience of the world, society, governments, all this sort of stuff. Venus moving in the grand trine with Earth signs and outer planets indicates, because it's Virgo, a major shift towards a more problem-solving solution or approach to whatever it is that we've been dealing with. And certainly the things that were causing so much consternation and came up bubbling to the surface of the consciousness in those first 2 weeks. So we've got some dynamite twists of fate happening after we get past the eclipse in the middle of the month, because that Venus walks right into a juicy grand trine with Pluto and Uranus. So be very, very excited about the possibility that big, unexpected, soap opera level changes could happen literally at the drop of a dime. And in all ways, it will be for the better. For the big picture evolutionary purposes, it will be for the better. Also, too, for those of you worried about your money, I don't know anything about stocks, so I'm not really going to have that conversation, but I will say we should see a huge shift in where we're investing our money and where we're getting returns. And for some of you that invest in, because Uranus and Pluto, it's all about the meta, and it's about technology and progress and humanitarian causes, as well as big business. So for those of you who have invested in, I would expect very progressive technologies and or things related to healthcare, medicine, right? Social causes, social issues, climate change, the aging population, all sort of stuff. You may actually see a surprise boon at this time when we get closer to the end of the month, around the next eclipse, and Venus gets closer to that grand trine. So that will be interesting to see what that actually is as it plays out. Also, let's see. So Sun, Mercury, and Mars will not get down to that trine with Neptune until next month. It will be opposing Jupiter. So we might finish out. There's not a lot going on, and we need to rest, actually, after the 15th. So between the last 2 weeks of the month should be fairly quiet, but very intense because things are rocking and rolling. Don't get in the way of the boulder. And we should be heading into Jupiter. We should be heading into surprisingly a much more pleasant mindset than we may have been for a while. So good things are going to happen and are going to lift everybody's spirits in those last 2 weeks of November, or October rather. I don't know what it is. We'll find out. Okay. Now there will be a quarter moon at here's something I want you guys to watch. There will be a quarter moon at 28 Capricorn on October 21st. So this quarter moon is going to absolutely pull in that Pluto that just went direct. So big things afoot. Big things afoot. So mark your calendars and watch the 21st to see what happens. And the other thing too is this eclipse occurs on the 28th, right? So these two are not necessarily connected because of the dates involved. However, they're happening close enough together, and this is involving Pluto again, remember. Right? They're happening close enough together and with an outer planet that this is going to make this date pretty important. So it will be interesting to see what is going on during this time that could have much more far-reaching consequences than we realize. Also, too, as this quarter moon is happening, this eclipse will be activated at the same time that this quarter moon is happening. I'm telling you, watch the 20th, 21st, 24 hours either way, see what's happening. See what's happening, not only in the world, but also in your personal life. It doesn't have to be bad. So the 5 Taurus eclipse doesn't actually pull in a whole lot of anything else, but again, eclipses are super moons, so we give them a much wider orb. And that means that this eclipse is absolutely touching Jupiter, or reaching out for a handshake with Jupiter. And that means, and it's also pulling at Mercury and Mars. What this also means is that there is a lot of hidden opportunities that literally going to spring out of nowhere, but you have to be paying attention to catch them. So that's just between you and me. So watch what happens around this date. There's a whole lot of like Easter eggs of opportunity hidden in the lawn around us. We just have to keep an eye on it. Now, the last 2 weeks of the month, also Venus will remain in Virgo. As I just said, that same grand trine of the earth signs, and Mercury, Mars, and Sun will move to Scorpio. We just covered that. Now, here's something else that I thought was interesting for these last 2 weeks of the month. The asteroid or Transneptunian Apollon, which rules commerce and trade, among other things, will be conjuncting Ceres, which rules grains and the harvest. They'll be together at 5 Taurus under the eclipse. So Apollon and Ceres will be over here during the eclipse. So Apollon, remember, so let's string some keywords together, right? If Apollon rules commerce and markets, and trade, right? The buying and selling, it's basically commerce, okay? And it's conjuncting Ceres, which rules grains and wheat, and also, the hearth, the marketplace. In Taurus, which is also about the earth and the soil. We've been having this conversation about Taurus and the soil and Uranus and Taurus and climate change since Uranus entered Taurus. In any event, what this could suggest is that this particular eclipse at the end of the month may have, and again, watch those dates for previews or information about what that's really about, could indicate that there will be some weirdness going on with food supply and or market prices and or grains. Now, I believe I heard that Ukraine is one of the top grain producing countries in the world. So their farmlands and stuff being just utterly devastated with bombs and stuff is not good, and will absolutely affect prices of things like flour, which we use here in the United States for pretty much everything. So I'm wondering, we'll keep an eye on it, right? I'm wondering if this Apollon conjunct Ceres involving the eclipse that we're looking at the 20th and 21st to give us some information about might also have some significant connection to the Ukraine. So maybe the Ukraine's getting pulled in or becoming very high profile at this time because of these things. Grains. Ceres rules grains. Apollon is the market. So we'll see. We'll see. So what I would say for you for the end of the month, as these planets are rolling through Scorpio, right? And again, same thing as the beginning of the month. Don't play with people. This is not the time to play with people. Oh my God, the repercussions could be a lot worse than you think they are. So there's that, because there's that kind of energy. And also Virgo, with all that Scorpio, makes things even more doubly intense and a lot less likely anybody's getting away with anything, right? Because boy, if the devil's in the details, these people are going to catch it. Now, I will say on the upside, which takes us back to the first slide, all that Virgo and Scorpio literally primes the pump for Olympic level practical joke playing. So if you have if you have people around you at work or at home that are notorious practical jokers, be aware and do not be surprised if these last 2 weeks of the month has them deciding that now is the time to play their best practical jokes at every opportunity. So let the practical joking begin. And of course, Venus is moving in to make an exact grand trine with Pluto and Uranus, and it's in Earth signs, which will, my friends, stabilize things. So we will finally have some opportunities here to solve some problems, fill up a few gaps and cracks in the walls, fortify the building, and to stabilize financially, economically, in terms of food supplies, all that sort of stuff. So, and climate change. So hang in there, cross your fingers, and let's see what happens. And make sure you're taking care of business at home. So for this month, I thought I'd give you guys something a little extra. I'm just feeling very extra today. And I added the asteroids and the Transneptunians to see if there was anything interesting going on. So as far as the asteroids go, Juno will be in Leo all month, Ceres will be in Scorpio, Pallas Athene will be in Libra, and Vesta will be in Cancer. So start with Juno. So Juno and Leo at the very, very beginning of the month, right? Juno will be conjunct Venus in Leo. So everybody will have their minds turned towards relationships and love and the home and things that feel good, relationships. As we get through the month, and of course Venus moves on and moves into Virgo, relationships and love and home and hearth and happy times will not be quite as much of a priority as they were before. So for those of you who are trying to do something nice around the house, like get the everyone to agree with redecorating, like listen, do it now, because once Venus gets a few more days into Leo heading towards Virgo, any ability you had to get somebody to agree to anything is going to be lost. I'm just saying. Ceres is in Scorpio, and we know that Ceres will be absolutely contacted a lot, as we get down towards the end of the month when Mercury, Mars, and the Sun start closing in on Ceres. We also know that there's a possibility that Ceres, because it rules the grains, right, might might have something to do with Ukraine. I'm not sure. We'll find out. Apollon, as I said in the previous slide, is also right there with Ceres. So food supply and the marketplace are really big conversations coming up this month, especially in the second half of the month. So keep an eye on what's going on. These things will absolutely require, well, like most things, it's going to require a solution, but it may be one of these catch-22, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Neither of these decisions are ideal, but you got to make a decision because you can't keep standing there. So we may see what that's about, and that may absolutely have to do with food supply and marketplaces as we get down towards the end of the month. Vesta will be in Cancer. Vesta will be in Cancer. It will remain in the terms of Mars. And not really doing a whole lot else. Now, Vesta will be opposing Cupido. Let me show you here. So Vesta and Cupido will be in opposition this month, and in terms of Mars and Venus. So the war between the sexes is on. I mean, it's been on for a while, but it's really gaining momentum, and this may be this may be a challenging time for people who are, chest beaters and into the whole Tarzan, Eugene sort of, lifestyle, or, romancing sort of thing. This is Vesta in Cancer, in the terms of Mars, gives the strength to the women. So women have a lot of power this month. I don't know why and I don't know how, but we should be seeing it, right? Where women literally are running the show, and kicking ass, taking no prisoners, taking no names, or however that saying goes. So we'll see what that is. Now, Cupido opposing that also means that interpersonal relationships are on the table for dissection and analysis. Now, we've been dealing with a lot of this when it comes to abortion rights, and this wackadoodle religious people who think they can make rules for everybody else, yada yada yada. We've got Viagra prescriptions for 80-year-old men, but we don't have reproductive care for women. And one of the states actually just lost. They had to shut down their whole maternity ward because all the doctors left the state in protest of what these ridiculous laws are and how they're written, and how they literally set the doctors up to go to prison as well, for doing what doctors do, which is trying to save lives. So this Vesta Cupido thing, because Cupido is relationships, interpersonal relationships of the romantic, intimate variety. Vesta and Cupido, like this, opposing each other, could absolutely bring these things to the forefront and really force people to have these conversations and look honestly at what they're dealing with. We'll see. For those who are in relationships, you would probably know, and you may be feeling it a lot more this month than you have in a while, right? So the lens is squarely and firmly turned back on you and your partner, or partners, depending on whether you're poly or not. Okay, now this month we also still carry the Transneptunians, Hades and Kronos together, and the 13 or 15 Cancer. They're kind of in the back, out of the way. We're good with that. I know that Kronos and Hades hit the charts of a couple of national charts. We're not getting into it, or we will be here for a year doing this video. Kronos and Hades will also be trining the Transneptunian Pisces, Poseidon. And that gives some suggestion or hope that if we just get quiet, the answers that we're looking for will come. And the things that are driven by the light, will be sustained and survive the most. So if you find yourself in doubt at all this month, remember, turn within, turn to the light, and let the answers come. Or let the divine assistance appear so that they can take care of things for you as these things go. Zeus, now here's what I thought was interesting, right? So Zeus this month, sorry, will be at 23 Libra, which is right here where Mars is as we start the month. It's right there where the eclipse is going to be at 21 Libra around the 14th of the month. Like, this is a very active Zeus. And it's in the nodes, right? Because the north node's at 24 Aries. The south node is over here at 24 Libra. Now, here's the thing. Zeus brings force and power and, machismo, baby. Machismo, like Zeus, because, he's the king of the gods. He's Mr. Macho himself. It brings a lot of that hyper masculine energy, right? So for those of you who are all about, alpha, 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 this month in particular, and certainly something about this eclipse, is when we're really going to be acutely aware, of the manly men in the room that need to feel recognized for being manly men. There is the possibility, because Zeus is force, Libra is also war, so is Mars. There is the possibility that at this time, the drums of war may be beat again and again and again and again. This does not necessarily mean that we're going to end up in a war. One war somewhere else is plenty, but it does mean that military action, militarized action, even local law enforcement, things that involve things that involve uniforms, firepower, force, and macho energy. These are the things that come under these auspices, with Zeus sitting here so close to Mars, and also involving the South Node and the eclipse around the 14th. Now, because it is sitting in the South Node, this is all old old stuff. We don't, the thing with your South Node is that it's what you've done before. We don't need to go back to it. It's like an old bad habit. Been there, done that. So with Zeus and Libra in that South Node with Mars and the eclipse, yada, 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 it looks like this is, we're revisiting some old stuff, rehashing old stuff, or we're doing what we've done before because it always used to work. But right now, it's not going to work. So don't get too freaked out about any chest beating at this time and, screams of war, calls for war. There's not a lot of energy behind this. There's a lot of force here. So if it were to be unleashed, it would be huge. But there's not a lot of energy to sustain consistent forward momentum, making this real or an actual decision that goes into play for the long term. So that's my take on it. I could be wrong. But if I'm wrong, we'll all end up in war and you'll have forgotten all about this broadcast. So we'll see. We'll see. All this is to say that if these things conversations start happening this month, don't panic. Oh my gosh, don't panic. Poseidon will be at 15 Scorpio opposing Jupiter. So Poseidon is here and it will be opposing Jupiter here in Taurus, and Jupiter is retrograde. So with Poseidon opposing Jupiter like this, and also trining Cronus and Hades, some things that I would be mindful of is there's a very distinct possibility that many people, including people who've never had these experiences before, may find themselves suddenly having a whole lot of intuitive insight, flashes of prophecy and that sort of thing. It could also mean that they're, having delusional prophecies, but flashes of insight are going to be very, very strong right now. And some people may find themselves actually having like visions of things to come, right, in the immediate sense. So we'll see. We'll see. There should also, for those of you who do psychic work, this is going to be a really profound, and of course, right, and Halloween is this month. This is going to be a really profound time for doing work with the dead, right, or the people caught in the space between. Lots and lots of psychic detective stuff going on this month. Lots and lots of mediumship stuff. Lots and lots of spirits that are going to want to be heard. Well, if you believe in that sort of stuff. Vulcanus is at 3 Leo, not really doing a whole lot. It turns me on here. I just don't see a lot of activity there, which is kind of okay. Cupido at 4 Capricorn is going to be opposing Vesta. We just had a long talk about that earlier. And Apollon will conjunct Ceres, opposing the 5 Taurus eclipse on the 28th. And we talked about that in the last video, so we know what's up with that. And also possibly that there's going to be a Ukraine connection to this eclipse. All right, and that's it. This is kind of like the general overview of the month. If you have more specific questions, feel free to put them in the comment box and I'll try and get back to you. But this is a big month and there's a lot that's not actually very predictable. So we're just going to have to wait and see how things play out. And at the end of the day, like some of the best parts about doing astrology is when you don't know all the details. You just know that whatever happens is going to serve this evolutionary purpose. So I don't know what's going to happen next month, but it clearly looks like this is meant to do something that's really going to make your sex appeal like, off the charts, or there's some type of financial genius solution that you're supposed to pull out of this. And then of course you find out as time rolls on that the events that come to pass are you lose your job and you have to become a stripper or something equally unexpected. So it's always fun to see what the cosmos brings in with these winds of change like we're looking at for October. So I don't have a lot of more specific information about that. Just wanted to say this is actually kind of not a bad month, and certainly going to be a month full of entertaining surprises, all sorts of twists and turns along the road. Okay, so the image here is a bas relief, I think they call them, sculpting or carving from a wall. And this is the carving of the goddess Ishtar. So the planet Venus was first considered the star of Ishtar, and she was the ancient Mesopotamian goddess of love and war. She was later linked to Aphrodite, which was then renamed Venus. So now, she's still the goddess of Ishtar, but now we think of Venus in different ways. But the original planet Venus was the ruler of the goddess Ishtar, who was the goddess of love and war. So it's going to be an interesting month, to say the least. Okay. And that's it. So, my friends, like, subscribe, or comment because that helps support the channel and keeps it active in the algorithm so that actually will keep showing up in your feeds. And again, if you have any questions, put them in the comment box and I will try and get back to you and answer them when I get a chance. I'm sorry I don't have a more traditional monthly horoscope right now, but well, it's going to be quite the colorful month, and they won't even show me, so that I don't get to spoil all the surprises. So, and also too, like, what I would think of as a question is different from yours. So ask. All right, darlings. Talk to you later.